Okay. Mhm. So, Prem, can we start now?
Okay, we are live now. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to COE's Pro Bono Weekend webinar. Today we have Vaishnavi Muralikrishnan, one of the valued COE member who has been excellent and consistent towards contributing to the COE's growth, and also she is a valued book club member, and which I can say she has hosted. She has delivered many sessions regarding the breaking down of few of the books. And in the past weeks, we have observed the breaking down of Atomic Habit books. And this is the final episode of Atomic Habits. So let's see and let's hear what are the insights which she would be delivering.
Yeah, thank you, Prem. Thank you for the sweet introduction as ever. Hi, everyone. I have been doing this. This is the first book that I have taken up to share and talk about and to discuss in this book club. So, if you have any suggestions, because we're now wrapping up the Atomic Habits book, and if you have suggestions for the next book, please do let me know in any of those COE groups. I'm part of it. And yeah, if you have not attended the first few sessions, you might have missed some of the ways in which the author James Clear lays out how we could form healthy habits and to be very successful and become the great version of ourselves. And I don't have to say how valued this book is by everyone. How it's a very popular book, and it's been talked about every year by different people who take up the book for the first time, and I'm one of them. And the only reason I picked up this book is so that I can discuss about it. And otherwise, I would not do this because um, picking up self-help books have not been my cup of tea. So yeah, let's get into this. This will be a short session as usual because we will be discussing what the author has discussed in. And if the discussion continues, we will be happy to extend and talk about this. The final chapter is the fourth law of the atomic habits. The first being making it attractive, and this there was a chapter before this that says making how to make habits attractive so that you follow them. And this lies in a similar platform where the author says you have to make habits satisfying so that you keep doing in a way, he addresses how we follow bad habits easily because it instantly gives you the gratification, it gives you the instant high. But the good habits are often associated with things that could be gained in the future. Taking up the usual example of going to the gym, eating healthy, we always have this image of ourselves in the mind where we are fitter, we are healthier, we're more attractive looking, or just in overall sense, the aspect of health and being healthier is in the future. I'm eating the vegetables, the salads, the I'm taking in my proteins, all because I can be healthier later. And I'm going to the gym so that I don't have joint pains in the future. So that is how we associate all our good habits. But in bad habits, it is always like I'm treating myself by having this junk food today. I'm taking myself out today by spending on this things that I don't want, but I'm just rewarding myself. So we have this image of good habits being rewarded in the future and bad habits being rewarded right now, right away. So that is why it is easier for us to follow bad habits, to not stop following them. And it gets difficult with bad habits because you're not seeing the results. It is not making sense to your brain because mm, he says that in the past, in the monolithic age, we are when we were hunters and gatherers, we hunted and we ate immediately. We consumed the food, we reproduced. All that was instantly satisfied. So our brain did not evolve much from those times. So we are living in an age where delayed gratification, delayed rewards is the concept. So whatever you do, if you're working hard in your job, you get the promotion next fiscal year, or you get that hike next year. So you're not motivated enough to do it. How do you address that? How do you make it attractive? How do you make it satisfying? So that is where the author asks us to keep a tracker or maintain a reward system of some sort. Because if you remember in our school days, when we have good handwriting, or when we score the perfect marks, the teacher would make us stand in the front, or they would ask the others to applaud, right? So if there's a class test, you get that immediate. They give you those stars, or they give you stickers. So that is how you motivate someone to do better the next. That is how you motivate someone to go to your home, learn again, study hard again, so that the next day when you turn up to school, when you take up the test, you get rewarded again. So take that same example. It might sound kiddish, but that is exactly how you should allow your habits to form. If you're going to the gym, give yourself a reward every day by adding a sticker to your fridge, or your notebook, or adding a star in a piece of paper. So we have this collection of stars that will make you feel like you've accomplished something. So in a way, you're visualizing your success. So it is right in front of you, and it is telling you, hey, you have achieved this much. You're able to see the progress yourself. And when it comes to saving or making financial decisions, when you're putting a hundred, say, let's say 100 rupees every day into your bank account, in a separate bank account, where you're saving money for, let's say you want to buy a PlayStation, or you want to buy a new television, or you want to get that expensive clothing or shoes. But sacrificing now feels difficult, because you could do something with that 100 rupees. You could get yourself something, let's say an ice cream treat or something. But you're not able to do that because you're restrained by consumption that would gratify you instantly. But it is difficult for you to put that money away, because it feels like a burden. It feels like it's a chore. You're giving away money when you could spend it today, but you're saving it up for something that you might or might not buy in the future. It does not make sense. But this is where your actions come into play, of keeping track of your savings. Um, Draw a little jacket, or stick a picture. I know all this sounds like extra work, but if you do it, this will definitely bring you into the habit of saving money. Because if you stick the product or thing that you want to purchase, or thing that you want, if you're, say, building a house and you're putting away savings, stick a picture of it, and then keep a track of your savings. Add how much amount has increased every day. Let's say you put in 100 rupees every day. Let's say it's 200, 300 tomorrow. Keep adding tally marks, or some sort of emojis or something. And I'm sure there are a lot of apps available to help you do this. So add those things so that you keep track of your contribution every day. It gives you a sense of progress. And when there's a sense of progress that is measured, when there's a sense of progress that you could see right in front of you, you will not stop doing it, because you can see the results right away. It is increasing, your savings is increasing, your bank account is growing. So that will prevent you from skipping a day. You will not skip a day, because you know that money is going to grow. If you skip a day, it means you're going to lose your savings. Like, you would lose one day's worth of money. And then that is how you associate a sense of loss or a sense of negativity with not following the habit, and a sense of positivity with following the habit. So tracker helps, and reward systems help. These two things will make your habit satisfying, and will keep it sustainable. And that is the first part of the fourth law, in making it satisfying. So yeah, the next is about it has something to do with your willpower. I can say it out loud. I'm not the most disciplined person. I skip several days. I skip 3 or 4 days in a row when it comes to following something. I'm a work in progress in the discipline area, but I know how to stay myself motivated because when I get into the momentum, I do a stretch of 10 days and I give up next 3 days. So I have been inconsistent, and discipline and taking breaks have not been my strong suit, despite knowing that those are the things that I should do. So this in this part, the author says that if you miss it once, it is an accident. If you skip a gym day, if you skip a good meal today, and pick out a junk food for your lunch, once is an accident and twice is a mistake. And you have to ingrain it inside your head so that every time you skip twice, every time it's more than one day, it feels like you're doing something wrong. It creates a sense of alertness in your brain, and it gives you a sense of guilt. So just put in effort to remember this. Once is a mistake, sorry, yeah, we are less likely to repeat a painful thing or a negative thing. So when you associate you missing or skipping a day with something bad or something like guilt or a sense of accountability, you will not do it. You might miss one day, you might miss one day this week, and you might miss one day next week, or every week you might miss a day, but you will not miss 2 days in a row. That is how you enforce a habit. You make yourself stick to a habit. And the third thing that he says is to have an accountability partner. Let's say I am wanting to read something. I have a book and I'm trying to read 10 pages a day. You have an accountability partner. If you can get someone, a friend, a colleague, or someone from your family to read it with you, it is so much better. But oftentimes we might not find people who are who we can relate or who would want to do things with us. But in those cases, have someone who with whom you can report your weekly progress or everyday progress. Say that let's go out on social media or to your friends and say that, hey, this week I have read 30 pages, this week I've read 60 pages. That is how you involve someone else in your habit forming process, so that you are accountable in reporting to them or in sharing your success. That is why a lot of people share these progresses in social media. I think you might have heard about the 70-day heart challenge. So we have measurable days of habit tracking. It could be 30 hours of reading, or it could be 10 pages a day for like the next 30 days or 60 days. So add in measurable quantities of hours or things that you could track and post it or talk about it or share about it, so that you are forced to share about it in the next time. You share it now, the next week you share it, and then third week you might not feel like sharing, but when you know, don't share and you turn up to work or you meet one of your family members or friends, they might ask, why didn't you do this or today? And then you will be answerable to that person. Even if they don't care about it, they might ask you about it. And in that sense, you might feel bad about not having stuck with it. So have an accountability partner. That is very effective way of making yourself stick with the habit. So, and these are steps and techniques and methods we have discussed about how to become a person who has good habits and has given up all the bad habits. In the final concluding passages, chapters, the author says how he talks about how to become good, from good to great. Two things that stood out that really made sense to me was gradually increasing the heavy lifting part. And the second was choosing habits that align with your natural qualities. Oftentimes, with the self help books and the motivational talks that are very popular, they always say that you could achieve greater things, that you could be extraordinary. They give you exceptional cases from these. Uh, Over time, it has improved. The quality of those content have improved. But when I started watching these, the popular ones, the ones with a lot of views, or the ones that are shared a lot, are stories that are exceptional cases, people with great qualities. At one point, we question ourselves: Is it because is it in their DNA? Are they? We have these toppers and achievers in our class, and we find I have observed their parents to be very in like high. They to be doctors or to be in higher government positions where that would have required them to study harder, right? So I just assume that that is how it is passed on to the next person, the kid, and their children, and so on. That is true. But the author also talks where genes matter and where it doesn't. Genes matter in the sense if I'm someone who's naturally not an early riser, going to the gym every day in the morning will not help me uh, contribute to the goals of becoming a healthier person. You have to pick a day, a part of the day where you feel active. You might feel active in the evening, so going to the gym then might help. And when you form habits like that, you have to understand yourself, you have to identify your strengths and limitations, and define habits or actionable steps in a way that it aligns with your inner qualities. I am a slow learner in math, and that is the truth. But it does not say that I am bad at math. Over the period of a very long time of observation and realization and criticizing moments, I have realized that when it takes 30 days for someone to complete a chapter, it takes me 60 days to complete a chapter, but I complete it nevertheless, and I'm still able to do those calculations or problems or everything. So you have to find the pace, the rhythm, the kind of habit that you want to follow through self realization, self awareness. You have to know what works and what does not work. If you're going to pick, say, you're going to draw and you're becoming an artist in the next, uh, you pick up an ideal image and you say to yourself, I'm going to be able to replicate that image. I'll be able to draw this in the next 20 days. You might not be able to do it. It would have taken the artist several years to do it, or let's say a few months to do it. We will not know. So do not compare your sense of progress or the amount of time it takes for you to become great with someone else. To become great, you have to be self aware of your natural abilities and align your habits with that. That is how we become great. And the next thing that stood out was adding weights to your habit formations. Um, Take brushing your teeth as an example. You brush your teeth every day. There is nothing to improve or nothing to diminish the quality of the action. You're going to brush your teeth the same every day. But taking from a personal example, I used to learn for 2 hours every day when I first started to learn. And I just stuck with it for several months. And after a month, it did not feel like it was challenging enough at all. I just kept learning, but the demands of the exams, the certifications or the courses grew. I started signing up for many courses or many skills to learn, but I was still putting in the same constant 2 hours of work every day. And it did not make any difference. It did not improve me. I felt overwhelmed by the amount of work that I have to do. So, what I should have done is gradually increase the amount of hours that I put in, the amount of lessons I covered, so that the habit is just challenging enough to keep me going, but not too hard or too frustrating that I cannot complete it. I cannot say I will spend 5 hours every day to this because that is just impossible. Going from 0 to 5 is not easy. Going from 0 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4.5 might be easier. And that is how one should approach habit formations. If you're lifting weights at the gym, they advise you to increase the weights gradually, let's say every 15 days or every week, depending upon your potential. And they might not advise the same frequency to every age or people of different strengths. Even when increasing the weights, even when adding more strength, for people in different ages, it differs. So you have to be mindful about the work that you're doing, the amount of work, the quantity of hours that you put in, and you have to gradually increase it. So if you're, say, someone who reads every day, 30 pages every day, you will be the good person. You'll be a good reader. You'll be the side. But To become a great person, you have to add a few more pages. You have to read 50 pages a day. So when you add 50 pages to a day, after a few months, you will realize that you're completing or finishing up more books. And every year this increases. Let's say you complete 3 books this year, you'll be completing 10 books next year, or maybe a smaller number, but I know you get the point. So that is how you become good, from good to great. To summarize and conclude, these are the advices and suggestions and examples from the book. And I have found it helpful in a lot of ways, despite it being very cliched and repetitive. And if you've got something to share, if you're someone who is trying to follow a new habit, I would happily listen to you. And yeah, that is to summarize about this book. I hope I was clear. If I wanted to summarize the entire book, it would take another session. But to keep it sequentially uh, ordered, I wanted to conclude with just the final chapters of the book. Yeah, mm, now I can discuss with you. You're open to speak up, you're open to share. Um, yeah, if you have something to share, we could go ahead now. And a lot of learning from this book, but it it lies the essence of the book is that you actually pick up a habit, just as small as just making your bed every morning and stick with it. Just try experimenting with what's outlined in the book, and if it works, you can apply it to your other goals and other bigger, more energy demanding habits.
Um, Vaishnavi, I'd like to address one of the points which you have mentioned. Like, for example, you mentioned like you can find that time of the day which maybe suits you according to your genes. But there is one more concept like you should be uh, pushing it in the opposite direction rather than just pulling it towards you. So that means like you have to push it in the opposite direction. For example, even if you feel like you're not going to get up, and if you do not feel like you're going to do it in the morning, but maybe hitting the gym in the morning, whatever it is, but still you need to push it sometimes. Like it's rather to do something than like doing nothing. So like what I mean to say is like if, for example, most of the people might find the evening time would be much more suitable for them based upon their energy levels. But the problem is sometimes we may get engaged into multiple tasks and we might skip due to that. So instead of doing that, we should be focusing upon like at least we should do something rather than just skipping it, rather than finding the comfort zone. So, yeah, I mean, this is one of the concepts. I'm not saying like this is just contradictory statement, but this is one of the concepts. Like instead of pulling towards you, you should be pushing to the other side sometimes.
Mhm.
That might keep you in the discipline.
I think it is all part of experimentation,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah, it is one of the things like it.
yeah. And a lot of trial and errors is required to build a habit or do something, because I believe the key to excel at anything, at any level, at any age is self-awareness, to know that you're able to do something and to know that you cannot do something. And I think that is the difference. And if you can spend 30 minutes every day exercising in the morning, and if you find yourself skipping 5 evenings in a row, or of your planned weekly schedule, maybe it is time to switch it up and try putting in maybe a few minutes or few hours in the gym in the morning. So I think that level of self-awareness and trial and error is required. And yeah, I agree with you in that sense. And also, there is a mention of intertwining your habits to your sense of identity. Let's say you are practicing yoga, and you tell people that I'm now able to handle the problems in life with a sense of calmness, or I am level headed at all times. You say it out loud, you believe it yourself, and you establish that as your identity. They are someone who's practicing yoga, and that is why they are very cool, and that's why they are level headed during times of difficulties. Then it will help you not to give up yoga practicing, because it is now a part of your identity, and you start believing yourself. The reason that you're matured or more improved than your older self is because you're practicing yoga. And that is how you intertwine the sense of identity to your achievements, and you establish that in your community, in your professional space, within your family, so that you keep following it. And for me, I was not a learner. I didn't know how or what it is to study hard or work hard. But once there was a necessity for me to, get a job, I started studying. And when I started studying, I had these certifications or course completion certifications to show up for how much hours I had spent on studying. And in that sense, I started showcasing it to people. I started talking about it. Hey, yesterday I learned this, and I would share about it. And the next day I would go and say, I was learning this yesterday. The other day this was happening. So when I started sharing about my learning and showcasing out to people, I know this might come off as bragging, but this is how it works. And I am a slow learner too, so in that case, learning was difficult for me too. So when I started broadcasting to people that I'm a learner, I cannot give it up. If there is something new that they ask me to learn or to cover or to explain to them, I will immediately pick that up and I will read it. I will put in every effort to learn about it so that I can explain it to them in a way that they understand. And when they understand, that's when they will believe that I can learn and I can study. Or so in a nutshell, I studied, I shared, I established myself as someone who's learning always. And people started believing it. I started believing it. And now I cannot give it up. If someone says, but even if I'm switching domains right now, I have to learn something new, I have to put in hours, I will definitely put in the hours because it is required, not because it is required and not because I want to go to the domain, but just for the sake of me learning. I have grown to like learning, to study, take notes and stuff. So I have evolved into this person whose good habit is now their identity, their character itself. So yeah, that helps. Talk about your habits, broadcast it, make it your identity. It is fun in a sense. Yeah, so I have, yeah, Prem.
Yeah, that's true. And I was just like asking Priyanka and Shreyas like if there is anything which they'd like to share from their experience, or maybe is there any points which they have seeked through this session? Priyanka. Okay, I guess like Vaishnavi, you should add one more point to the atomic habits. Like people should uh, try speaking out in the public and in the sessions as well.
Yeah, but all I could say is that even if you speak up and if it's not right, or if you get embarrassed, no one's going to remember it. I will not remember it. Prem will not remember it. The other person or the other participants won't remember it. I have also messed up a lot of times in public forums. So yeah, yeah, of
You
course, like
mean,
I
yeah,
take it up.
sure. Maybe Priyanka could share something in the meanwhile.
I guess not.
Okay, Vaishnavi, this is a tricky question. So So you have broken down this Atomic Habits book and you have shared your insights. So I'm going to ask you something like, what are the points or what are the things which you like didn't believe that would work in the practical life as per the like from the book? Maybe there is something there. So every book we read, there is something like we might deny, oh no, this is not going to happen. Like this is not how it works. So is there anything like which triggered you? No, this is not right. This is not feeling right. From your perspective, not just like.
Yeah. The one that I just talked about, broadcasting your habits or achievements. I thought that would just add pressure, or people would just lie to keep up. On the social media, you often find people talking about it, and I'm like suspicious about it. Or you're really following it, or you're just posting about it. But turns out, even you cannot keep up with the life for a long time. You cannot do 50 days of a 100-day challenge and then life for the next 50 day. You will be motivated, or you will find that in yourself to pick it up again. I didn't think people would just keep doing it just because they are talking about it. I When I started talking about it, I didn't realize that it was helping me to stick with the habit or stick with my learning. But after reading it, I realized that was what I have been doing. That is what people have done in the past. Because if you lie about something, you will not be able to sustain. You will not be able to prove it later. If someone lies about going to the gym and working out for a 6 month, let's say they are trying to build the transformation of their body in the next 6 months, and they have told everyone that they're going to do it, and let's say if it's an influencer or someone popular, and if they're not doing it, there will be many people taking it up with them, like what is the update, or they will ask you about it. Same way it works in our social communities also. People will ask you about it. If you lie, the results will just be there. If it is, even if you've done it or if you've not done it, in both cases they will be able to see the evidences of it. And if I'm not studying also, if I'm not if those certifications were just a lie, or if I've just skipped those lessons just to get those certifications, I will not have anything to prove or in an interview. If I'm able to crack those interview, I landed 3 internships. At one point in time, I was doing 3 internships, one on site and two remote. I've People will not uh, continue to believe that I'm a learner or someone who studies or works hard, because I will have nothing to show for it. So for people to continue to believe, and for myself to continue to believe, this broadcasting and showing off actually works, which I did not believe before reading the book. That was a self realization, and something I can definitely vouch for. Yeah.
It, it often adds some very specific level of ego in us, that
Mm.
when we have committed and if you're not doing it, then certainly they'll ask us, you said that you will do it but you haven't done this. It will be like so it is like it's a soft ego that will get hurt, and we'll be motivated to do more. So I really loved how you have broken down Atomic Habits. I really loved how you actually summarized it, all the four laws in very simple sentences and very simple statements. And one of the things that I like is that you can reprogram your mind to enjoy something which is very hard to do. So the best way, as in the book, the best way is to say you don't have to take a pressure and say I have to do it tomorrow. Simply you can say I get to do it tomorrow, because in a second, in a moment, it changes your attitude. For example, I have to wake up tomorrow, I get to wake up tomorrow, then it will change the attitude. Then even if you have to work out or meditate, or we need to practice for an interview or work on a very specific project, instead of saying that I have to or I need to go to the gym or need to do this project, you can say I get to do this project in time. This will really help us. This is what I loved about this is in the second law. And the best thing about this book I loved was to the third law, making it very easy to do something, because when it becomes easy to do, you're more likely to follow it and revisit it rather than when it is very difficult. So it's something like a psychological thing. So yeah, so thank you so much for breaking down it so well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing this. It really means a lot because if someone can resonate with the book and actually share about it, that is the whole objective of me conducting these sessions.
Yes. So I
And
did read
you,
it. It's been a few months since I read it, but I did make some notes. So I had to grab them and I just had to revisit them so that I could share my insights after the discussion.
wow, thank you for putting in the effort. I really appreciate it. And you're right. Oftentimes, I find myself complaining that I have to work hard to get something. And then I remind myself that I get to do this. I have the privilege of dedicating these many hours to a goal that I actually want to achieve. And there are
Yes,
people who cannot afford to do that.
yes, certainly. So the best example would be people who are working in as management consultants or investment bankers. They certainly don't get time because of the lot of work pressure, client meetings, etc. But being, let's say, a software engineer or let's say a cloud engineer, we tend to have around an hour a day so that we can invest and upskill ourselves. Because I read it in a quote that instead of enjoying on weekends, use weekends as days and hours to get ahead of 90% of the population. This was something I read on YouTube. I don't remember the page or the account. This was something that I resonated with because weekends can be used either to grow or it can be used to kill the time. So it's all on the person.
Yeah, that is true because we have 9 hour shifts, right? If I'm not wrong, in a lot of workplaces, it has transformed from 8 hours to 9 hours of work, and we do not find enough time during the
Yes,
weekdays and the weekends. All we want to do is do nothing, not do work
yes,
again. And just it's if you can bring yourself to put in the hours during the weekend, I believe you can definitely achieve whatever you're trying to do because
yes,
dedicating weekends to work is the hardest thing. And
yes.
if you've cracked
It's the
your
hardest
crack,
thing.
yeah, yeah. And if you've cracked the code to doing that, or if you've uh, grown to have the willpower to do that, you can definitely achieve whatever you're working for.
Yes,
That's so true.
and James Clear also talks about building a system, adding willpower, then building a system that you will actually use or utilize every single time, and you'll revisit it because of that system, so that doing something becomes even more easy. Not just giving ourselves incentive. For example, we say let's do this project, and when this project is over, I'll play a game or let's say I'll watch a movie, etc. So it could be an incentive for us. But instead of doing that, we can actually go for putting a system in place that can actually help us do that even more quickly. Wherein it is easy to do, it is easy to comprehend. It is more like we are more likely to do that instead of just giving only to willpower. Willpower with a system added to it can actually make multiply the output and the outcome of the action we are going to take or we are trying to make.
Yes. And I have these seeds and nuts that I want to eat every day. My doctor has advised me to. But I find it I find that I'm lazy to pick up the box, put all the seeds and nuts, and then putting in the effort to eat it right after I come from work. All I want to do is lie down. But after reading this book, what I've started doing is put out the box every day uh, in the area where I have my meals. So now I just come back every time I return after work. I would just pick out the box. I don't have to pick it out from the cupboard or from somewhere else. So I'm reducing the friction between me consuming those things and me returning from work. So there's least amount of work has to be done. I find myself eating it regularly. So that is like the habit that I formed after reading the book.
Yes, this is also another point made by James Clear. He also says that we need to reduce the friction of doing a task. The more difficult it is to kickstart that specific task or that taking that specific action, the lesser we are likely to start it. The lesser the friction, the more likely we are to start it. This is one of the very good points he made in the novel.
Yeah. It might be a small habit, it's just eating nuts and seeds, but I found it something that I skip every day because I tell myself it's okay, I'll do it next day. But the added benefits of me following that diet would reflect later, and that is why I keep putting myself off from eating. But now I've made it easier to access the object in discussion, so it has made it easier.
In my personal opinion, the forming a very specific habit, let's say eating something or diet or following a very specific diet, it doesn't just help us, let's say 5, 10, or 20 years in the future. It also helps when we're trying to form another habit, because then our brain has that realization that yes, we have made this habit, we have been able to develop this specific habit, so we can develop a newer habit for us. So then brain starts to cook or take that information as something positive. It starts to cook different thoughts, which actually push us to form another habit, which is most likely for our betterment only, which will help and impact our future forward. But not just so
Yeah,
any habit helps in forming different habits, because it gives cues to our brain that we can do it. We have already done it, so we can do it again. It's a bit
that,
positive for us.
yeah, that is true because I used to believe that you have to be very disciplined to follow every habit on your day. But now that I know that just laying out those, taking out the box and having it ready for the next day will make me follow a habit. That just gives me a confidence boost that I can transform or apply this technique to every other habit that I am
Yes.
wanting to follow. So that is true. Yeah.
So
So
any other book that you read? So there is this, I think Carl Newport's book, something related to habits, I think something related to focused work, which is quite close to what James Clear suggested in his Atomic Habits. So have you read those books as well?
no, you can just go ahead and assume that I have not read any of the self-help books. This is the first book that I have read from the start to the
Okay,
end and
okay,
consumed it properly.
okay. All right.
And if you're someone who is reading these books, I'm welcoming your suggestions for the next book clubs sessions because we have finished with the Atomic Habits, and I will be moving on to the next book. And I'm open to suggestions, something different from this, so that to keep it fresh and interesting, something new that I have not read or you have not read.
What
So
about
which genre
5 a.m.
are
club?
you looking for?
Sorry, Prem.
Sorry for interrupting. I was asking like which genre are you looking for?
I don't have genres. I'm open to suggestions that are just different from Atomic Habits, not restrictive to any genre.
Mm, So are you looking for any novel, like story kind of book, like
So
non
you're looking for
Um,
fiction or non-fiction?
fiction? Yeah.
Non-fiction, because I believe non-fiction is what people would want to hear, and I will have audiences. And I'm someone who I read fiction a lot. I'm reading a book right now. I have it on my bed right now. Non-fiction is something that I won't read, and my people might find difficult to read also. So I'm I'm asking you books that you would want to read, but you keep putting off, or you want me to read. You think it might help me, or it might help others, or books that are not in the public space, or books less talked about. Those kind of books.
Could we go with Eat That Frog?
Yeah, I've seen that. It's about
That,
procrastination, right?
yeah, doing the task, so how to not procrastinate and find easy ways to do some task, and something related to creating less friction and doing the task
Mm-hmm.
more often,
Okay.
more quickly, and with more efficiency.
Okay.
We could go with that. Or
I
the
will
5
have
a.m.
it
club.
to 5 a.m. club. Does it require me waking up at 5 a.m.?
No, no, it's just about how the winners, CEOs, and the rich often wake up at early hours, and they get ahead
Yeah.
of the 80% or 99% of the population. So it's about that. So you definitely don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. to read 5 a.m. club. It's not like that. It just
Will it
talks
make
about
me wake up at 5 a.m.? Because that is also something I'm struggling with.
maybe you might find motivation in it as well. Wake up at
Mhm.
5 a.m. If you follow a very specific CEO you really love, so you would understand that he wakes up at in the early hours he wakes up in the morning and does a lot of things, gets ahead of the population. So you might get motivated to do that yourself.
Yeah. I
So these are the two
aspire to.
suggestions we can go for.
Mhm.
If you have something else in mind or if Prem has something else, then we can have discussion on that as well.
No, I'm very much open to suggestions from you because I'm not going to be choosing a book. I just chose this book because everyone talked about it, and I wanted to know what the hype was all about. And now that I've completed my only list with the only book, I'm open to suggestions. I'll take the Eat the Frog and the Five Waving Club. I'll consider them and I'll like put up a poll so that people can vote and uh,
Hey, the
I
frog
can.
is a good one. I read it.
Mhm.
Yeah, the frog is a good one. I mean, yeah, yeah,
It's
maybe.
a I would say it's a fast read. It
Yeah.
has around a few chapters, but they're not less more than 4 5 pages per chapter. It's a very quick read, around 130, 140 pages
Mhm.
in the whole novel.
Yeah, and Prem, you can stop the streaming. I believe we are done with the book club session. I'm just taking in recommendations.